Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I am joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we'll be reacting to last weekend's English Premier League and Scottish Premier League results, and Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So coming up next, we'll be reacting to last weekend's English Premier League results. So I'll just quickly go through them all. So on last Saturday, the results were Luton Town 0, Tottenham 1, Man United 2, Brentford 1, Fulham 3, Sheffield United 1, Everton 3, Bournemouth 0, Burnley 1, Chelsea 4, Crystal Palace 0, Nottingham Forest 0, and last Sunday, the results were Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1, and Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0. So, Pearse, from these lists of matches, which match or matches stands out to you the most?
Well, I've looked at two results that I think stand out for me. And it's Manchester United 2, Brentford 1, and Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0. So I think we'll start with the Manchester United 2, Brentford 1. I felt as if another game at home where Manchester United struggled for about probably 80 minutes of the game. And a lot of their key players again are off it. They needed a goal. They bring off Rashford. They bring off like a lot of their attacking players, like on the wing, like Mason Mount, example, £60 million signing, and he's not really done anything since he's moved. And then they bring on the Scotland dynamic midfielder and Scott McTominay, who rescues a magnificent victory for them, because I think the pressure's starting to build a little bit on Ten Hag. Because the football is not great, it's not exciting, although they do have a lot of injuries. But you don't really see a style of play. And there's obviously a bit of falling out with the players off the field as well. So it's kind of like a toxic club at the moment, and they're struggling to get results. Could also they get beat Crystal Palace the week before at Old Trafford as well. The second that could have been the third defeat in a row if it wasn't for the late double by Scott McTominay, who's in terrific form as well, obviously for Scotland, and hopefully that continues tonight against Spain. In terms of Arsenal Man City, another game that I thought was, you expect, like high intensity, high energy, both teams high pressing, but again I thought it was a bit slow and lethargic, and it took a while to get going, and Arsenal used their substitutes bench wisely, because get to bring on the quality of Gabriel Martinelli, and he won the game for them. He had the deflected strike. There wasn't much between the two sides, but a massive 3 points for Arsenal. And that's a game last season they struggled to take any points off of Manchester City, because although Man City have got a little bit themselves, they've played with injuries, and obviously Arsenal didn't have their key man, Bukayo Saka. But again, they go over the line, and that's a massive blow for Manchester City, because that's now two defeats in a row, because they lost against Wolves last week, and now Arsenal as well, and that's a big dent, and that's a reality check for Manchester City that they won't be capable this year. And I thought to a man, Saliba and Gabriel man-marked Erling Haaland again, because he never got a sniff. And if you give him even half a chance, he'll punish you. And so that's the two games that I've chosen for the Barclays Premier League.
Yep, thanks, Pearse. So my two matches that stood out for me the most in last week's Premier League was Luton Town 0, Tottenham 1, and Burnley 1, Chelsea 4. So the reasons I've gone for these two matches, so starting off with Luton Town Tottenham match. I just felt for Tottenham, you know, the fact that they went down to 10 men in that game in the first half, with Yves Bissouma getting sent off. And then in the second half, we all thought that, this is going to be a great opportunity for Luton to get their first home win of the season. But Tottenham got an early goal in the second half, and the way that they defended for the rest of the match when they were down at 10 men, and that kind of mental resilience that they had as well. Because, in my opinion, I don't think Tottenham would have won that game last season. Um, and a lot of football fans accuse Tottenham of kind of don't have that mental resilience to kind of get through games if the chips are down. But for Tottenham, it was the exact opposite. And they got through it and deserved to win, and that's them now top of the table going into this international break, which for Ange Postecoglou, he must be he will be delighted with that. I just felt it was such a big win for Tottenham, a massive 3 points for them, just with the situation that they were in, the fact they were down 10 men. So yeah, so Luton Town Tottenham was one of my standout matches, and I've went through the Burnley 1, Chelsea 4 match, because, well, for number one, I think it's a great away result for Chelsea. That's now 2 wins in a row, two away wins in a row now. And the fact they went to a Burnley side and beat them by 4 goals, and no, so they scored 4 goals suggests the impressive performance they put in. They went 1-0 down in that match as well. And the fact that they got back into the game and kind of controlled it. And Raheem Sterling was really good in that match as well. He got himself a couple of goals and he got himself an assist. But for Chelsea, it does seem to be that the last week or so that they've kind of turned the corner. They've had a pretty slow start to the season under Pochettino, but they do seem to have turned the corner now. And the fact that they've gone into this international break with two wins in a row, 2 away wins in a row as well, suggests that Pochettino's kind of starting to get his message across. Because Chelsea do have some tough games coming up as well. So yeah, no. So for Chelsea, I just think it was that match to me, because I just think you know they've turned a corner recently. Um, I wanted to say the Arsenal Man City game, but just lastly, but in terms of, I think you just briefly mentioned it, that the quality of the match wasn't great. It was a pretty slow match. There wasn't really any great chances getting created by both sides. And although it is a big result for Arsenal, it doesn't really mean much at this kind of you know, time of the season. But for Arsenal and Arteta, they were delighted that they finally got over that hurdle of beating Man City, who uh, who they look as their closest rivals in the league. So that wasn't really a standout to me. So yeah, so the Chelsea Burnley game and the Luton Tottenham game were my 2 standout matches from the weekend. So we will now move on to reacting to last weekend's Scottish Premier League results. So again, I'll just quickly go through them. So on Saturday, the results were Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1, Hearts 2, Hibs 2, Livingston 2, Motherwell 0. And on Sunday, the results finished St Mirren 0, Rangers 3, and Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0. So Pearse, which match or matches stands out to you the most?
So I went with 3 matches. So I went with the Edinburgh Derby, Hearts 2, Hibs 2. I went with Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 1, and I've went with St Mirren 0, Rangers 3. I felt as if the 3 matches were the key fixtures of the SPFL card this weekend. So I think I'll start with Edinburgh Derby. It was a match that Hearts got off to the perfect start, 2 goals up, they were flying. And obviously Tynecastle was rocking, but Hibs responded in the second half. Ho-Yeon with a double within, I think it was like 68 seconds, which is an incredible turnaround for Hibs. And I feel as if under Lee Johnson, that wouldn't have happened. I think Hibs would have capitulated. I think they would have crumbled. But I think with, is it Nick Montgomery, the new manager? I think he's done a tremendous job since he's came in. You touched on it last week. He had a phenomenal result. I think he's seen how successful it was in Australia, but you can see right away that he's got them playing a attractive style of football, and he's got them resolute at the back, because I think Hibs have always been quite a entertaining side, but they're kind of one that kind of similar to like a tournament you mentioned before Ange Postecoglou came in. They were kind of like spineless, kind of almost like they just, when the chips were down, players were just kind of throwing the towel. But I think now he's kind of got them resolute. They've got that kind of mentality now where they, even in a hostile places, Tynecastle, that they can come back in. And I think that was a tremendous result. And Celtic 3 come on at 1. Wasn't really a vintage performance in terms of like Celtic getting the win, but obviously Kilmarnock, as you would expect, sitting in, hoping to hit the break. Basically like 8 or 9 men behind the ball and then just counter-attacking football. But it's a fantastic result. Obviously maintains that lead at the top to 7 points. And obviously Kilmarnock knocked Celtic out with the League Cup not too long ago, just a matter of weeks ago. So that's obviously nice to get, obviously, for Celtic to get retribution for that, but and obviously maintain that lead at the top of the table. In terms of St Mirren 0, Rangers 3, that was a pretty shock result, to be honest, because obviously Rangers have now managerless and they're in caretaker charge by Stephen Davis. And obviously they lost in midweek in Europe to Aris Limassol, which is pretty shock result, to be honest, regardless if they've got a manager or not. Because you look at some of the quality players that are in that Rangers squad, you thought they'd have had enough to get the job done, but that wasn't to be. And then to go to St Mirren away from home, and St Mirren are one of the strongest teams in the SPFL. They barely leak any goals, and they're always a threat from set pieces. So that was it was a pretty comfortable afternoon in the end. And I think that was a really good confidence booster for Rangers. And obviously it puts them now level points with St Mirren in joint second. So that's my 3 results for the weekend.
Yep. Thanks, Pearse. I mean, looking through them, there's only one really, to be honest, that stands out for me. That's the Edinburgh Derby, which finished Hearts 2, Hibs 2, because it was just a cracking match to watch. Hearts were the better team in the first half, and Alan Forrest's goal to put Hearts up 1-0 was a cracker of a goal, to be honest, cutting in from the right and hitting a shot with his weaker foot, which is his left, and it flew right into the top corner. It was a brilliant finish. And then Hearts went 2-0 up in the second half, and everybody thought, oh, it's going to be kind of the same story where, Hearts have always got the upper hand in this kind of fixture, but I think it was 2 goals in 2 minutes, and Hibs managed to pull it back with 2 goals from Eli Ewan, which made it 2-2 in the match. And then after it went 2-2, both teams were just trying to win the match. They're both going for it, and it made it an exciting match to watch. Both teams were end to end in the match, and any team could have won it in the end. So you're also saying there about Montgomery, since he's come in as Hibs manager, he has got off to a solid start. He's unbeaten, and since he's come in, he does seem to be getting a reaction out of the Hibs players, because towards the end of Lee Johnston's time, it looked pretty dull in that team. They were getting beat quite easily, conceding a lot of goals. But there does seem to be something for Nick Montgomery to build on in that Hibs team, and I think they could, at the end of this, turn out to have a pretty good season. I was going to ask you, Pearse, obviously, about moving on from Hibs and Hearts, and I was going to ask you about the Rangers at the moment, their situation. So obviously, they did win at the weekend. You briefly mentioned the fact that they got beat in Europe last week as well. But obviously they are without a manager. Stephen Davis is the interim at the moment. There's lots of names being flown about. So what do you think of Rangers' managerial search at the moment? Do you think it's gone well? And who do you think? What name to you suggests that he should take the job?
Well, I think in terms of managerial search, if you look at the last time they appointed Michael Beale into the Giovanni van Bronckhorst, he was pictured inside Ibrox a matter of weeks before he was even given the boot, which is a bit kind of suspicious a little bit. Like kind of like you knew his time was up. But I think with Michael Beale, they trusted him, and the amount of money they gave him compared to Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who got Rangers to a European final, which is a phenomenal achievement, and even won the Scottish Cup as well in his time there. But Michael Beale got the most money any Rangers manager's ever had since Dick Advocaat in the 90s. So Rangers were really banking on Michael Beale to be successful. And obviously with his being at the club during Rangers' season when they stopped the 10 in a row for Celtic, he was assistant manager then, but they thought he was like the mastermind, like the tactical genius behind Steven Gerrard's winning team. But it never worked out. He got the players he identified and he wanted, but they never really got in a style of play. In terms of managerial search, I think there's two names that are strongly linked at the moment, and that's Clement, the Belgian, and also Kevin Muscat from Japan, the Australian manager. For me, I don't know too much about Clement. I heard he's managed like a couple of clubs in Belgium. I think it was Anderlecht or Club Brugge. But also I know a lot about Kevin Muscat because obviously I cover a lot of the Japanese league and the Korean league, and obviously we know him as a player. He used to play for Rangers. He was a very hardy defender, sometimes over the top. But in terms of his managerial pedigree, he's a top manager. Because in Japan he took over Ange Postecoglou, and continued success. And Yokohama don't have the biggest budget. If anything, they have like a mid-table budget, and every window they're losing some of their key players to Europe, and they don't go out and buy the best players from the league. They just promote from within. So to continue and maintain success within the Japanese league and the Japanese Cups and the Asian Champions League, and the style of football he plays is really good. So no, I think for me he would be the standout candidate. And obviously he played for Rangers before, and he knows that as well. And obviously maybe give Rangers a chance to shop in that market in terms of Japan and South Korea, because there's a lot of unearthed gems that can obviously come into the Scottish League, and you've seen that with Celtic. It's happened before in terms of the players they brought, and they've just hit the ground running because there's a lot of top quality players outside of Europe that can easily come into Europe and make an impact. So for me, I think Kevin Muscat would be the standout candidate to be the new Rangers manager.
Yep. I just want to briefly say because we're now in an international break, and I think a lot of Rangers fans were expecting Rangers to kind of had the managerial appointment sorted now, and that doesn't seem to be the case. And I'm now wondering if they'll have a manager in before the first game starts back after this international break. So it does seem to me that Rangers are really taking their time and trying to identify the right person to take them forward. You were saying there, obviously, at the moment it does seem to be Rangers that they're making a choice between two people, which is Philippe, Clement, and Kevin Muscat. So just starting with Philippe Clement, he's actually got a really good success. He's not worldwide known. He's not the most known manager. But he did well at Monaco. He left the club just in the summer there at the end of the season, but he did pretty well there. Kind of competing at the top end of the French league. I think they got some impressive results. And yeah, he did pretty good job there, but it was more at Club Brugge where he did a good job. I think when he took over, they were kind of mid-table, and he managed to get them to be title winners in Belgium. I think they won it 3 times in a row, which kind of suggests, he's got a history of winning trophies. I think he plays quite a good style of football. I'm not sure if this is true, but I think he did used to work with Cyril Dessers. I'm not quite sure if that is true, but apparently Cyril Dessers and Clement kind of know each other. And also Philippe Clement's Belgian, and so is Nico Raskin. So there might be a bit of a good connection there. So, but Philippe Clement does seem to be the favourite at the moment. And if he did come into Rangers, it'd be definitely interesting to see how he would do because, it's not a name that I think anyone expected Rangers to be kind of looking at, but he is an impressive manager. And then Kevin Muscat, as you said, you know, he's another one where I think a lot more people know about him because of his history where he was at Rangers. I think it was only for a year, but he was at Rangers. He's got a history of playing for Rangers, and obviously, he's now the manager of Yokohama Marinos. He took over from Ange Postecoglou, and obviously, Pearse, you know a lot about him. Um, he would probably make the most sense in terms of the fact he's got a history of playing for Rangers. He kind of knows a bit more about the club. But there has been suggestions that he isn't willing to leave Yokohama until December because I think that's when the season finishes.
Yeah, there's still I think there's like 5 or 6 games left of the season, so and they're in a title race, so I think he would wait until the season concluded because another chance to win a trophy.
So apparently there's a thing that he won't leave until the league finishes. And I don't think Rangers in the situation they're in, I don't think they're going to be willing to wait. So I would say Clement is the favourite at the moment. And Muscat's a close second, and I think it's just a decision Rangers need to make of who they want to go for. Um, but I think this kind of managerial situation for Rangers will be solved pretty soon, and when it does, we'll talk about it more on the podcast. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yep. So last weekend we had Korean League action. So that was the final match day before the top six and bottom six split. Um, so we had on all the matches were played on Sunday, the 8th of October. So we had Daejeon Hana Citizen 1, Jeju United 0, Ulsan Hyundai 0, Incheon United 0, FC Seoul 0, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 2, Daegu FC 2, Suwon FC 2, Gwangju FC 1, Gangwon FC 0, Suwon Samsung Blues 1, and Pohang Steelers 0. So the top half is now Ulsan Hyundai, top with 67 points, Pohang Steelers in second and 58 points, third Gwangju FC, remarkable season. I think they've been the surprise package in 54 points. Then you've got Jeonbuk in fourth and 49, Daegu FC in fifth and 49, and Incheon United squeeze in to make the top six in 48 points. So they're going for that's the championship group in terms of that they'll be playing against each other. So there'll be 5 matches remaining, and that will be concluded roughly about the same time as the Japanese League. So in terms of the relegation group, so the bottom 6 half of the table, we've got FC Seoul in 7th position, who just missed out on the top 6 finish, which is unheard of because they spent a lot of money this season in terms of bringing in proven players, but it just never worked out. So they finished 6th and 7th on 47 points, 8th Daejeon Hana Citizen 45, then Jeju United in 35 in 9th position, and then 10th position with Suwon FC, and then we've got Gangwon FC in 11th and on 26 points, and Suwon Samsung Blues at the bottom on 25. So 3 teams that are in the relegation scrap basically. So Suwon FC, Gangwon, and Suwon Samsung Blues. So obviously the 12th position gets relegated, and the 10th and 11th position are the relegation playoffs. So the 3 of them are in hot water, to be honest. So Gangwon FC and Suwon Samsung Blues have been kind of rotating between bottom position. So the bottom position is the one that automatically relegated. In terms of the top half, We've got the first and second position automatically going to the Asian Champions League group stage. And then third position goes into the Asian Champions League qualifiers. So that's your Korean league. So in terms of Japanese league, there was no fixtures at all this weekend, last weekend. So the J League One returns on Friday, 20th October, with Kawasaki Frontale and playing Avispa Fukuoka at 7 p.m. on Friday. And then Ura Diamonds versus Kashirai, so that's at 7:30. So two cracking matches. And Friday night J League action never disappoints, and that'll be one to look forward to. So in terms of international break for Japan is South Korea. So on Friday the 13th of October, we've got Japan versus Canada at 7:35 kickoff, and that will be played in the Denka Big Swan Stadium in Niigata, Japan. So that's the home of Albirex Niigata. And then on the same day, so Friday 13th October, we've then got South Korea playing Tunisia, and that's at 8 p.m. kickoff at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. And then on Tuesday the 17th October, we have Japan versus Tunisia, and that is set for 7:10 kickoff, and that is in the Novia Stadium, Kobe, in Japan. And then to round off, we've got Wednesday, 18th October, and that's South Korea versus Vietnam, 8 p.m. kickoff, Seoul World Cup Stadium. So cracking matches, two cracking matches for both sides, and that'll be really appetising to go watch the four matches. So in terms of other Asian football news, Seung-Ho has recently rejected a Junebug Hyundai Motors contract extension. The former Barcelona and Girona stars considering a return to Europe. And at 26, I feel he's not only grown as a player, but also as a man, and feel he would settle and equip himself well. Pike can play as a deep six or a box-to-box 8. Comfortable on both feet and has shown his class for both club and country, where he's a nailed-on starter. So Saturday, 7th October, South Korea under-23s played their arch rivals Japan under-23s in the final of the 2022 Asian Games. South Korea triumphed 2-1. This was a fantastic news for the players, as they now have either cut their mandatory military service short or don't have to do it for winning the gold medal. The match was played at the Hangzhou Dragon Stadium in China, and it was certainly an entertaining match, which I reported on, and you can read the full match report on the Football Chuggu website. So some disappointing news coming up now. So the Italy, Brazil and Korea Legends All-Star game scheduled to be in Goyang on the 21st of October has now been cancelled. Reports say Racing Group did not pay the money on time. This isn't the first time this has happened this year, with Juventus' tour, Wolves and Celtic's pre-season tours all cancelled due to the organisers not paying the clubs on time. Major blow for all the fans who bought tickets, and I'm as gutted as anyone, as I had a ticket already bought, hotel booked, flight and train tickets not all arranged, but had to get them all cancelled. But that's not going to be possible. But we will have more special content like this again when another event like this happens, and you'll see it here first on the Football Chuggu website, where we've got you covered for any and all football news in Asia as well as Europe. So the KFA is pursuing the introduction of a promotion and relegation system between the K-League 2 and the K-League 3 starting from 2026 season. So Celtic have been monitoring Gwangju FC's Ho-Yeon, and he's of interest to the Scottish champions. Jung recently won military exemption at the Asian Games and would be open to a move to Europe. Ho-Yeon, 23, is a central midfielder who has helped Gwangju FC to a third place finish in the K-League with only 5 matches remaining of the season. This could be a potential destination for Jung come the January transfer window. So watch this space. So that's a transfer that could possibly happen in the not too distant future. And also the South Korean national team fullback So Young-woo received an offer from Heart of Midlothian in the Scottish Premiership during the last winter transfer window. The move was a loan to buy option, but it didn't progress any further than that. However, Seoul is open to a move to Europe and could be another talented South Korean who also makes a move to a European side come January. And that's all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye bye.